In this video, I will show you how to publish Google Tag Manager container and what to do if things go wrong. Hey, my name is Julius and welcome to Analytics Mania YouTube channel, where you can learn Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics. And if you want to stay up to date with Google Tag Manager, consider subscribing. When you have tested your changes in Google Tag Manager, it's time to publish them. After that, your changes will go live to all the visitors of your website. This video is a part of video series called Google Tag Manager for Beginners. So if this is the first video that you're watching, I highly recommend to check the description of this tutorial and start from the very first lesson instead. All right, so let's dive in. After you have tested your configuration in Google Tag Manager container, now it's time to publish those changes and make them go live. Because what we have done so far is that we were working within the boundaries of your browser and your container. But if this container is added to your website source code, those visitors are still not getting Google Analytics 4 activated on their page. But once we submit these changes and publish the container, then those visitors will be also tracked with Google Analytics 4. Of course, keep in mind that in the context of our Sandbox website, even if the visitor actually goes to this address, which is gtmcourse.myshopify.com, they will not be tracked because we are emulating that Google Tag Manager is installed on this website. We are actually working in the sandbox mode and we are just faking the installation. But if your developer has actually added your Google Tag Manager container code snippets to the source code of the website, and then you publish the container, then definitely your visitors will start getting these tracking codes as well. So once you're ready, click Submit in this top right corner. Then you will see a view like this. You have two options. One is publish and create version, and the other one is just create version. So as I've mentioned before, every time you publish a container, a new version is created. This is useful because if something goes wrong, you can roll back to the previous working version and then publish that one instead. But if you don't want to publish your changes live to the website visitors, but you just want to create a checkpoint, like in video game, where you save your progress, then you can click just create version. In that case, you will create a new version, like a new point where you can roll back to, but your website visitors will still not be getting these changes. But in our case, we want to create version and we want to publish those changes. Also, I highly recommend that you enter at least the version name, because if you don't enter, then the list of your versions will not be very descriptive. And if you want to quickly find what functionality was implemented when, well, seeing the list without version names will make that process much more difficult. That is why I always enter at least version name. Something like that will work just fine. Of course, if you want to include some additional description right here, feel free to do so. And there are several benefits when it comes to properly naming your versions. First of all, if you go back to this container, after a year or maybe 2 years, and if you see just a list of version numbers without version names, well, it will make your work much more difficult. That is why your future self will thank you if you add version names right here. Also, if someone else takes over the container in the future, it will just look more professional if you properly name your versions. But first of all, think about yourself in the future. Properly naming your versions is very important. So once you have entered the name and description, then click Publish. And eventually you will be redirected to this version summary where you see what kind of changes were made and what was the content of that container. And if we click on versions right here, you will see the list of all versions. This is our empty container version that we published immediately after we created a new container, because otherwise the preview mode would not have worked. And this is our latest live version. So you can see that this version has two statuses. One is live, so this means that website visitors are getting this version, so they are being tracked with Google Analytics 4. And also this is the latest version, so this means that we are editing this version currently in the interface of Google Tag Manager. Now let's imagine one situation. Let's say that this version number 2 contains some breaking changes that are breaking certain functionality of the website. Let's say some button clicks are not working at all. So we have to roll back to the previous version that we know that was working. Then we will have enough time to fix the existing version, and then we will publish those changes once again. So let's first of all make sure that our visitors are back to normal. And I mean that we need to make sure that they get the proper experience just like it was before we published the container. So let's republish the version number 1 to our visitors.
next to this version, click 3 dots and then click publish. Then click publish right here. So what we have done is that we started loading the first version of the container to our visitors. So this means that there are no longer breaking changes for them. And now we can properly, without rushing, we can fix the problem in the version number 2. So, I can maybe go to tags. Maybe I have some other tags that are breaking. So let's say that now I have fixed all those problems. They have been solved. And now I am ready to publish this version, this updated version once again. That is why I'm going to click submit again. But now just keep in mind that we are just pretending that I did something. In reality, like if you have some breaking changes, you should actually fix them. And then let's name this version, let's say fixed breaking changes or something like that. Then click publish. And then you will see that in the version list, so we have to click this once again, we have a new third version, which contains some fixes. And this version is both live. So this means that website visitors are now getting this live version. And also another status is latest. So latest means that we are now editing that third version right here in the interface. And of course, once you publish these changes, you should probably go back to your real-time reports. Your debug view in Google Analytics 4, if those changes, of course, involve Google Analytics 4, and then check what is happening. Once again, like what kind of data was sent, like, are you getting new data? Also, since we have published these changes live and now we should be getting more data from the actual visitors of the website, you should go to real-time reports and take a look right here. Of course, right now I will probably have only one visitor because that's just me and like there are no other visitors on this website. But if there were, then I would expect to start seeing more data coming in right here, like more users, more events, and so on.
And that's how you can publish your changes in Google Tag Manager container. And if something goes wrong, you can always revert to the previous versions. Now it's time for the final lesson of this video series. Let's learn how to track events with Google Tag Manager. You will find a link to that lesson below the video. If you found this lesson useful, hit the thumbs up button below the video because it helps me continue working on this channel. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics 4, consider subscribing to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.